All right, let's continue.
Latest on the war in Ukraine and the deadly helicopter crash overnight near the capital. This as the mayor of Kyiv.
We're moving on to updates from Russia and Ukraine.
Warns that critical infrastructure is at serious risk of collapsing. Matt Gutman is on the scene in Ukraine. Good morning, Matt.
Michael, good morning. We're at the site of that building that was destroyed by a Russian missile over the weekend. You can still see those workers behind me. Now, Ukraine says it's investigating the cause of that helicopter crash. What we do know is that it took out the top leadership of the Interior Ministry of this country. It also killed 3 children in that kindergarten where it crashed in that Kyiv suburb. This morning, that devastating helicopter crash outside of Kyiv, a Ukrainian emergency services helicopter slamming into a residential building, which included a kindergarten. In verified video circulating online, you can see jet fuel still burning in the courtyard and hear the cries for help. The area littered with wreckage, including this rotor impaling a mangled car. Ukraine's Interior Minister, his deputy, and State Secretary on board.
This is a really sad situation. And it is another somber reminder of my anti-helicopter statements. Like, this is just helicopters are devastating, straight up. They are. No, don't pago me. I'm serious. This is 100% serious. Don't ever get on a fucking helicopter.
None survived. They had been flying to what officials called a war hotspot when the helicopter reportedly lost its bearings and slammed into the building. Officials saying 16 people killed, including 3 children in that kindergarten. That as the death toll continues to rise in the Russian missile strike in the city of Dnipro. Now at 45 dead, at least a dozen remain unaccounted for. And in the coldest part of winter, the mayor of Kyiv warning that Russia's near daily onslaught of missile attacks has the country's electrical grid hanging by a thread.
We don't talk about the collapse, but can happen any second, because any second Russian rockets can destroy our critical infrastructure.
We got rare access to a power station in central Ukraine, a frequent target for Russian missile attacks.
Transformer, direct hit?
The coal-powered plant now considered a top-secret location. We go down below into the main plant, which millions rely on for electricity.
The size of this machinery almost defies comprehension, but it's something on this scale that is required to provide power to a city.
The control room like a bunker, protected by sandbags and body armor. That manager saying he needs defensive weapons from the West to keep that plant open. And to that end, we can report this morning that a vast shipment of artillery shells, probably the weapon most used right now by Ukraine, is being sent from a huge American stockpile in Israel to Ukraine. George.
Matt Gutman, thanks. Hi, everyone.
All right, helicopters all the time for work. Your take is correct. Helicopters stay in the air by a miracle. I mean, it's not smart. Not smart at all. I was airlifted once. The crew came back to check on me after I woke up from a coma. They said I was on a helicopter. I told them they should have left me there to die. Fuck helicopters. What? I love your anti-helicopter takes. Here we'll do the ex-GOP.
Here in the U.S., a former Republican political candidate is due in court today. He's accused of arranging multiple shootings into
it was $19,000. Jesus Christ, dude.
The homes of Democrats. His name is Solomon Pena. He's an election denier and a Trump loyalist who already had a criminal record before he ran for state office, and he lost in November. Scott McFarland has been covering this story. Scott, good morning. This is very troubling.
Hey, Gail, good morning to you. 3 months ago, Solomon Pena was running a campaign for the State House in New Mexico. But police say after his defeat, he found accomplices who riddled with bullets.
One of the things that's funniest about this story, I mean, there's so many funny aspects of the story. I know it's like supposed to be dangerous, but like it's supposed to be about like how horrible the times are now that like people are doing shit like this. However, I can't help but notice the fact that, you know, it was such a funny attempt because it was like all fucking losers and feds. But also, this guy lost by 48 points. Like, There was no way that he was winning this election. Like, it wasn't close. That's insane, dude. That's insane. Like, people literally either A, did not know him at all, or if they did know him, they were like, yeah, fuck that. That's insane to just be like, that's rigged, brother.
It's the homes of local Democratic officials. They say Pena even tried to fire some of the shots himself. In the weeks before his arrest Monday by an Albuquerque SWAT team, Solomon Pena's social media feed was littered with baseless claims of election fraud. The self-proclaimed MAGA Republican lost his race, and then over a 4-week period, police say he conspired with 4 accomplices to fire shots into the homes of 2 state legislators and 2 county officials, including Adrian Barboa.
My home was shot right through my front door 4 times, out my back window, right through my living room and kitchen, right where I had just been playing only hours before with my brand new grandbaby.
Barboa tells CBS News Pena had come to her home weeks earlier to insist she decertify election results. And doorbell camera video shows Pena going to another home looking for one of the other Democrats he allegedly targeted.
My name's Solomon.
Oh yeah, he also has the documents too, which is a staple. You know what I mean? It's a fucking staple in situations like this where it's like, I got the documents in my hand, bro. There is no documents you have, okay?
Pena, can I speak with Debbie O'Malley?
In their report, police say photos show Pena with one of the alleged accomplices, and that individual with multiple guns and ammunition. And
gang shit, you feel me? Yeah, he got this dude looking like an ex-FaZe Clan member to do his bidding. Funniest part about this also is that he was in prison for 7 years for burglary, and he could not find like an adequate shooter. Like, he had just such poor networking skills, you know what I mean? Like, that this is the guy you got. FaZe Titty Boy. That's who you got.
And that Pena paid one of the alleged shooters $500. They also say Pena urged the men he hired to be more aggressive and to shoot lower into the houses and to do so earlier in the evening when targets would be less likely to be laying down. And police say Pena personally took part in at least one of the shootings, but that his gun jammed. Tim Keller is the mayor of Albuquerque.
Well, certainly if it's happened here, it has the potential to happen anywhere in America, and that's a terrible thing. We've got to understand that even if we disagree, even if we're in different parties, it should never, ever be violent. And so this definitely is essentially verifying, I think, people's worst fears about where America is at.
Police say in one of the shootings, a state lawmaker's 10-year-old daughter woke up to bullet debris hitting her in the face. This incident comes as there's growing concern about threats against lawmakers, not just here in Washington, but all across the country. Nate?
Senseless violence. Scott, thank you. Some of the most controversial...
Another incident of attacks against Dems. Where's the Republican outrage against political violence? I mean, you know it's not happening. What do you mean? What do you mean? At this point, it's like, it's a constant. You know what I mean? We just know that this is what the right does, right? We just know that it's not going to change. We know that this is kind of like a part of being involved in politics in any capacity. And it's just like Republicans do this shit all the time. It's just like a part of it. It doesn't make it right, by the way. And I myself am like victim to at least threats of this kind of violence, for sure, certainly. Okay. But I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's just, what do? You just laugh, I guess. It is what it is. Like, this is such a prime example of like the ongoing normalization of this kind of violent behavior that people are not really even talking about it that much. And also on top of that, like, I mean, it's exactly like cancel culture. Like, the right has created this space where they basically make it seem like the left is the only people that do cancel culture, when they have been using cancel culture for the longest fucking time. They do it so much. They weaponize it nonstop. But everyone thinks it's the left doing it. And the same shit with, like, political violence. Like, oh, it's Antifa. It's Antifa that's, like, violent. Bro, what do you mean? The fuck do you mean, dog? They've been doing this shit nonstop. The right does violence and uses violent means all the time. Their rhetoric is violent. You got to go into, like, the higher tiers of leftism to get to, like, the fucking, burn cops or kill billionaires tier. Like, way, way higher tier. This is not, like, a part of the basic understanding of politics. In the same way that, like, right-wing basic understanding of politics unironically revolves around, destroying the lives and livelihood of the poor, the marginalized, making it infinitely worse. And most of the time, even that leftist highest tier of, like, violent rhetoric even is usually defensive or reacting to the act of state violence. Like, when people say this shit about cops, it's a reaction to cops openly being able to kill people, okay? The state has a monopoly on violence. So it's very strange to try and make it seem like both sides are engaging in this. What? What do you mean? Why do you think people just, like, hate cops for no reason? They just, like, want them to die or something? No, it stems from the fact that cops as an institution are have ownership over the state's monopoly of violence. They are the ones who are allowed to fucking do the violent acts. And even then, it's not a fundamental part of, like, leftist strategy, leftist ideology in general. So that's what I'm trying to say, okay? My point is, the right's rhetoric is violent. The right's ideology is inherently violent. The systems that they defend and collectively uplift are violent in and of itself, okay? Both structurally violent in the form of poverty. Poverty is a form of structural violence, okay, that you probably experience. And then direct acts of violence that are normalized within our systems, like the police force killing people and getting away with it and having no accountability, and that lack of accountability being built into the system. That is violence. Okay? Meanwhile, on the left, everyone's like, oh, the left is the real violent people. Okay, well, it's not. I'm just trying to describe to you why it is not. Stop, Megaphonics. Stop sending me Elon Musk tweets. I know Elon Musk is your favorite. Stop. I already covered it. I have a headache from covering it. Okay? Elon Musk can't fart without Megaphonics tweeting it in the chat, like posting it in the chat. Like, holy fuck. And it's not surprising that people on the right do this. It's not. And it's so normalized that, like, it's so normalized and so expected that the right is going to do this over and over again that, like, we kind of just laugh it off and move on.
Members of the Republican.
Meanwhile, speaking of, like, insane reactionary people in prominent positions, let's take a look at what's going on in the House of Representatives.
Party are about to see greater influence in Congress. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and his allies started assigning lawmakers to influential committees. And the list includes some who had previously been stripped of committee assignments. Nancy Cortez is following this. Nancy, good morning.
Good morning, Nate. And believe me, they pay attention to those committee assignments here at the White House because these are the members who are going to be conducting investigations, who are going to be grilling administration officials, and even in some cases moving to impeach those officials. Most notably, you've got 2 Republicans now being assigned to committees after they were stripped of their committee assignments not that long ago. Trump ally Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. She is going to be sitting on the powerful Homeland Security Committee, which has jurisdiction over the border. She'd be part of any move to impeach Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, which some in the GOP have been pushing for. Now, you'll recall that Taylor Greene was kicked off of her assignments nearly 2 years ago for racist and anti-Semitic social media posts. She has also continually questioned the 2020 election results, and she has pushed a variety of conspiracy theories, some of them having to do with national security. Arizona.
That's insane. It's crazy. This is, I don't know what to say about this, man.
Representative Paul Gosar, he's going to return to his seat on the National Resources Committee after he was removed for a social media post that depicted violence against prominent House Democrats. Both of these members have also reportedly been assigned to the House Oversight Committee, which would likely take the lead in investigations of the White House and Hunter Biden. That's very significant. Now,
I mean, it is quite poetic that, you know, this is Attack on Titan. You know what I mean? You have a Titan inside the walls, if you know what I'm saying. A Titan that's controlling the walls and directly inside the walls. Just saying, dude. Think about it.
as for the embattled New York freshman Congressman George Santos, well, he's going to sit on the Small Business Committee as well as the Science, Space and Technology Committee, despite lying extensively about his business record and despite the fact that he is currently facing multiple ethics complaints and continued questions about his campaign finances. Tony?
Speaking of George Santos, he played a role in the death of a dog, as we found out yesterday, but there's new updates. George Santos also was even more fabulous than you previously thought. That's right. I spoke by phone to Ila Rochard, a Brazilian drag queen who was friends with George Santos when he lived near Rio. She said everyone knew him as Anthony, never George, or by his drag name, Kitara, and confirms his photos from a 2008 drag show at Icaraí Beach. I conducted my interview with Eula along with a translator, a friend of mine from Brazil, so the response I'm sharing are English translations from Portuguese. Eula says she met Santos when he was 16 or 17 years old and became friends because they were both gay and enjoyed drag. Eula saw a story about Santos on Brazilian news and was sure it was him. She shared the news with a group of friends and everyone doubted her. So she looked for an old picture to confirm and she decided to post it on social media to prove her friends that she was right. A legend. The important context is that Santos ran as a far-right candidate and continues to align himself with homophobes, transphobes who target drag shows for violence. Drag is beautiful. Hypocrisy and condoning anti-drag and transphobic bigotry are not. It's awesome. He is the perfect guy. He's the perfect Republican. Oh. Representative George Santos said his mother was inside one of the World Trade Center towers when they were attacked on September 11. But immigration records indicate that Santos' mother wasn't even in the U.S. on that day, contradicting his claims. He is so goated. I don't know what else to say. He can't stop himself. What will he lie about next? This is the best part of Let Him Cook, okay? I love that because he defended Kevin McCarthy, he has committee positions too. It's so good.